Hey there, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
You're watching Facebook Live or YouTube Live. These two gentlemen, look at them. They're on a rope bridge and they're not in fear for their lives. It's Jay Moon and Bud Simon. They're authors of a book that's coming out, Effective Intercultural Evangelism, Good News in a Diverse World. Guys, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well.
Jay and Bud, that sounds like a good morning show, like a radio morning show. You guys thought about that? Or Jay and Bud in the morning?
I've done a few things, so maybe we could syndicate it.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be great.
Now help us with the rope bridge now. Why is there a rope bridge behind you, and how long did it take for you to build that thing?
Well, to be honest, I bought it at IKEA, right? The painting. It inspires me and others to think about future possibilities if we're willing to take steps in faith today. And on the other end of that bridge, there's a whole new world that can open up for you. But you have to take those steps in faith today to get there. So that's the theory behind it. But in practicality, we've built a few tree houses, and the treehouse vibe, it kind of fits this bridge.
Now, coming from IKEA, did you have to put the painting together yourself, or did it actually come that way?
Yeah, you kind of do. It's like rolled up, and you have to put the frame together. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Now,
and it has a completely different name than rope bridge, thing.
Yeah, you got it.
Now, I do want to talk about the book here in a second, but I've got to ask you, have you ever walked across a rope bridge?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, in Ghana, West Africa, we lived for 9 years there, and Bud was in Brazil for over 20. In Ghana, they have like this area where they have 7 rope bridges above the rainforest, and they kind of look like this, and they're about like 700 feet in the air, and they're above the canopy. But you kind of feel like, why am I here when it starts to sway,
Yeah. 700 feet in the air. Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, for you guys to put a book like this together, it sounds like you have your chops. I mean, you didn't just, you're not working at Dunkin' Donuts and said, hey, let's talk about evangelism. Effective Intercultural Evangelism, Good News in a Diverse World. So why did you guys put this? Well, first of all, we want to find out about the book, what it's about, and why did you put it together?
Yeah, that's a great thought. I'll start off, and then Bud can join in. Yeah. It's been said by Peter Berger that the end result of secularization is not atheism, rather it's pluralism. In other words, people are given new options for faith. And as we've been training people to both practice evangelism, as a way of life, we're realizing that they feel very inadequate to engage people in other faith systems, whether it's Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, Wicca, whatever. And as we've been training people, they've increased their competency 300% and their confidence 100%. So we say, well, this is we've been doing this for like 6 years now with the Knox Fellowship and partnership with Asbury. So we would like to give other people the opportunity to have more confidence and competence to engage people of other faiths. Otherwise, we're just kind of stuck and people don't know what to do. They feel like they're on a bridge that's about to sway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I'll just chip in. My story is a little more personal, too. We were, like Jay said, we were both missionaries. And when I first went to Brazil, I would just kind of share the gospel in the way I'd been trained. And it's kind of the classical training. You'll have a little track or something, and you'll hand that out to people, and you'll explain, you're a sinner, you need salvation, and everyone just smiled and nodded. It didn't really seem to strike home. And so it was more of an intuitive shift for me to realize, hey, I need to adopt the gospel message to the culture in order for it to make sense. And I remember one night when there was like this. I preached down there. And so I remember one night preaching, and I preached a message about, and the Lord kind of spoke to me about all this, but I had gone into a situation. I embarrassed this guy. It was kind of the classic thing where, as an American, you would go into a store and you're thinking, hey, I'm a customer and I should get good service here. Wasn't happening because culture is very different, and so I said something and kind of embarrassed the storekeeper in front of maybe some other customers, and in our culture it might not have been embarrassing at all, but for him it was very embarrassing. And so the Spirit spoke to me about that. I went back the next day and apologized to him in front of his employees and whoever was there. And after that, he like gave me A1 service, and it really resonated. Well, that was something the Spirit guided me in. Later on, I realized that cultural difference was something called honor shame culture versus what we would call guilt justice culture, which is dominant here in the United States. And we were in Brazil for 20 years. When I left, we were very much oriented around this guilt justice culture. But when I came back, and Asbury is here, it's college town. Most millennials and younger people seem to relate to honor shame culture more than the culture I grew up in. This kind of guilt justice culture. And so I started doing some research in that, and I realized that, and this is something that Jay and I talked about too, and we talk about in the book a lot, is a lot of times we get stuck in this perspective, this cultural perspective of the gospel, and it doesn't resonate with the audience at all. And people see the world in different ways. And fortunately, in the gospel message, there's different ways to communicate the gospel according to these different worldviews. And so when we take that and we hold it up, it's a little bit like seeing light through a prism. You get different colors as you look at it from different angles. That's what the gospel is. And so, so that's a little bit of my story.
It's a great way to look at it, though, because we're taught to just like, okay, here's how you present the gospel. Go out there and do that this way. And there's so many different ways to relate to people that are so much more effective than just, all right, here's the Romans road and follow it, and there you go. So I love that you were able to learn that, and you guys are passing that along not only through the book but also through the game. Talk about the faith sharing card game and board game that you guys have.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. So what we've done is realize that there's these 4 worldviews that are very common, like the guilt justice, the shame honor, the fear power, and then a new one that's emerging is where people are simply indifferent, and that the response to that is belonging with purpose. So what we've done is, in the card game, you encounter different people at different contexts, and they have one of these 4 worldviews, and then you practice sharing your own story and a biblical story that's related to that particular worldview. So that 4th one that I mentioned, this like indifference, seems to be rising in campuses around the U.S., where people, they don't feel guilt for their sin or shame or fear, but they're just simply indifferent. And the way Christ offers salvation, at least a starting point, is that Jesus offers belonging with purpose. And we think the paradigm is like the Zacchaeus model. So instead of just telling people this, we have them engage in this faith-sharing card game to practice it. And every time you practice it, you share the gospel differently. And we kind of liken it to this. If you go fishing and you don't catch any fish, you're probably not going to go back to that place or stay there very long. But if you catch fish at that fishing hole, you'll probably stay there late into the evening, right? So what we're trying to do is to give people positive scenarios where they encounter people that are different. They learn how to share their faith in that different context. And as they do that, they're more bold to do it outside of that training session.
Jay Moon and Bud Simon have a book coming out in August. The card game is out, and we'll tell you where you can get that. Effective Intercultural Evangelism, Good News in a Diverse World. I read this, sharing one's faith does not require attacking other religions. I love that because I think personally that you build a wall and there's no way in. And just recently I heard a quote which was really good. We can win an argument, but we destroy the relationship. So if we build on the relationship, I mean, hey, I can mark another argument. I won, but I get nowhere. So guys, way to go. What have you seen? I know the book's not out, and it will be out, but with the card game, what's been the response of folks that have maybe used it or your form of evangelism? They've even practiced it. How's it going with that?
Well, that's the encouraging part, which really prompted us to go further and write the book. Like I said, we've been teaching this for over 6 years, every semester, right? So over 12 sessions, and we have people following up. Almost every semester, somebody comes to faith. Because what happens is at the end of our training, we'll invite them to bring somebody who's not yet a believer to a meal together. And we're going to practice the things we've learned of being a good listener, helping them feel loved by being heard and understood, and identifying their worldview in order to be finding a relevant starting point. So a few months ago, semester close, we had 2 Muslims come with us, and then we had 3 Hindus in class. We've had Wicca and other people. What always happens is this: the people in the class at the end say, wow, that was actually very encouraging and was very positive. We can do that again. At the beginning of the class, if you ask them, how would you engage a Muslim or Hindu or somebody, they would have no idea. And at the end of the class, they're like totally down with it, and they found it was very, very positive. And as a result, they're able to do it further. So that's our real goal, is to be able to empower people to continue in this process.
That is so good. Jay Moon and Bud Simon, you can tell Jay is hip, right? He said that they're down with it. Way to go, Jay. Effective intercultural evangelism, good news in a diverse world. Coming out in August, digitalbiblecollege.com is a great place to go to. You can get the game. The book, we'd love to talk to you after the book is out, maybe a month or so, and see the response of the book. I love what you've done, and it sounds to me like God is using it in a big way. So let's get back together. We do have to take a break, guys. We appreciate you. Effective intercultural evangelism, good news in a diverse world. Again, you can go to digitalbiblecollege.com. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.